And Bright Suns travelers.
Bright Suns, everyone, welcome in. Already got a few people in the chat already.
Yeah.
Hello to Mark, Wonderful World of Walter.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
We did a great stream a couple Tuesdays ago, highlighting some of their recent travels. And so check out that stream if you missed it.
I'm going to be, I did. I'm going to be on Team Replay for that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were on the stream with them. I'm talking about our stream with them. We had them on our channel. Yeah.
Well, I thought you meant they had done another one. So we overlap. So
yeah.
I thought maybe they had gotten something up. So they have been on the road a lot. So we had a fantastic stream with them talking about all their travels. So be sure and check that out on our channel and check out Wonderful World of Walter. And Mark is in here. Tina, welcome in. It's good to see you. The Mickey Bunch, hoist the colors. It's good to see you, Kelly. Always good to see you. Let's see. Okay, I'll sign my release now. Tina says, they're going to be spoilers. In fact, I'm counting on it. And no, I haven't watched the show.
Yeah,
it wasn't until the end of the season. Tina, we appreciate you being in here anyway. This will give you an idea of what's coming, and yes, there will be spoilers. So, thanks for coming in. Let's see who else is in the chat. We're going to move along, guys, because we've got 2 episodes to do. They dropped 2 episodes on the 22nd. They actually moved the show up one day. It was to drop on Wednesdays. They moved it up to drop on Tuesdays, which is interesting because it drops an hour before we go live for our regular show.
Yeah, so I'm in constant, I'm constantly nervous that somebody's going to drop into the chat and say something.
And it's with a big fat spoiler.
And give something away, yeah. So
well, I'm nervous because I'm always tempted to ditch our stream and go watch Ahsoka. So confession time. Let's see. Okay, yeah, it's good to see everybody. Ahsoka fans, it is finally here. I know I have been talking about this, guys, forever. Yeah, I know y'all are probably tired of hearing about it, but it is finally here. We actually have, a couple of episodes to talk about. So let's get into it. Remember, we've got a little bit of background material there. I thought we'd give just that quick recap of Rebels. This, guys, is actually it's a continuation of the Star Wars series Rebels. It's an animated series by Dave Filoni that was out several years ago, and this is literally picking up where that last episode left off. We also had some extra. They crafted the a little bit further into it, gave us a few more clues on the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian, but it is essentially a continuation of the recap of Rebels. You want me to go ahead and do that, William, and then
yes, go ahead.
Okay, so this is a quick recap of season 4, episode 14 of Rebels. It was called Family Reunion and Farewell. I'm just going to read this off to refresh your guys' memory. If you already watched it, you will get all of this. During the battle to free the planet Lothal from the Empire, Ezra fights his way to Thrawn and reveals that he arranged Mart to call the Purrgil, who arrive and destroy Thrawn's fleet. The Purrgil then grab Thrawn's flagship and prepare to drag it into hyperspace. Despite pleas from his friends, Ezra decides to stay on the ship to make sure that Thrawn is defeated for good, and they jump away into hyperspace. So 5 years later, thanks to the Rebel Alliance's victory at the Battle of Endor, which both Hera and Captain Rex, took part in, the feared Imperial counterattack on Lothal never comes, and the Ghost crew go their separate ways. So this is a continuation of Rebels. These are all new characters, guys. We have essential episodes for Ahsoka in the description of this video. They are from They are from the Clone Wars, Rebels, and also the short series Tales of the Jedi. But I highly recommend that you watch Rebels because this just pops off that. This series is a continuation, and this is what we assumed it would be, especially considering the events in Ahsoka's live action appearances in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. Ahsoka is continuing her search for Grand Admiral Thrawn, who we'll be talking about a lot, I'm sure, and of course, Ezra Bridger. So that's where we're kind of jumping off. Mr. Juma, thanks for popping in. We appreciate it. Oh, Chris, hey, Dadfields, good to see you. Let's see. Yeah, it's good to see y'all. Mandy, welcome in. Welcome in. It is so good to see you. So we're going to jump into this, guys, because we've got 2 episodes to cover. If you have any questions or comments, by all means, put them in the chat, and we'll try to cover them. We generally try to give you a little background information and some trivia, as we go. The opening, part 1, is called Master and Apprentice. There are 8 episodes, apparently, in this series, and the first one is called Master and Apprentice. The title sequence is a little bit different. If you're familiar with other recent Star Wars series, they've added some new droid helmets. The sequence where the droid helmets appear.
I've always enjoyed that.
They've changed this one up a little bit. It looks a little bit different. It doesn't play the normal background music that we're used to hearing with the helmets, but it opens with a Star Wars story crawl. We're used to that crawl on the story background that is all the way back from the original Star Wars movie, but it's not the slanted kind. It kind of disappears off into the distance. It's a straight, just up the screen, like an end credits crawl. So that's a little different. I don't know if somebody forgot to put the effect in. I did think of that. Somebody forgot to put the effect in. Probably not. But anyway, it's a little bit different. But in that crawl, we learn that the Galactic Empire has fallen and the New Republic has taken its place, but sinister agents are already at work. They are searching for Grand Admiral Thrawn, who will lead Imperial remnants in a new war. Just what we need, right? More Star Wars. Ahsoka, who is our heroine, obviously, is taking Morgan Elsbeth. Now, do you remember Morgan Elsbeth was introduced in the very first live action where Ahsoka appeared?
Yep.
It's The Mandalorian in season 2, episode 13. It was called The Jedi. She is taking the woman she captured, who is a minion of Thrawn's, in for trial. And that's where we open this. And she's searching for a secret Imperial map. It seems that Ahsoka has successfully extracted some information from Morgan Elsbeth about a secret Imperial map. And so that's kind of the opening scene of this.
How many times in Star Wars are we going to base the beginning of our journey on finding some sort of map or some sort of map or some sort of plans?
Right. Well, it seems that in the Star Wars universe, they're big. They're maps and plans and things of that nature are apparently central to the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
More so than ours, maybe. I don't know. I mean, we're we in our own Milky Way galaxy, we use an awful lot of Google Maps and Waze and stuff. Just saying. But anyway, that's what they're doing.
Or a hidden person like Luke Skywalker.
Yes. So Captain Hale, we see a captain on the bridge of a New Republic's. This is a Mon Calamari star cruiser, and we first saw this ship in Return of the Jedi. And Captain Hale is in charge of transporting Morgan Elsbeth to trial. So she's a prisoner on this ship, and there's another ship on approach that's requesting clearance. to dock. And the bridge officer, tells the captain, hey, they're using an old Jedi code. And the Jedi at this point are pretty much supposed to be extinct. And so, the captain is really skeptical. And but his curiosity is piqued. So he allows them, he clears them to come aboard, and he says, we'll find out about these, Jedi. So he meets, two figures, disembark and come into the hangar, and the captain meets them there, and he questions them, and he's very, he's short with them. He's skeptical, and he decides to scan them for ID, and they attack. Now, what they attack with is red lightsabers. And we all know that when we see a red lightsaber, it means Sith.
Yeah.
So, this turns out to be Balin's skull. And he says, you're right about one thing, Captain. We are no Jedi. So, we know that they're posers.
Kind of hijacking Ahsoka's line there. A little bit.
We are no Jedi. I noticed that too. Yeah. We are no Jedi. Ahsoka is kind of famous. One of her quotes is, I am no Jedi. So she did. So they did kind of hijack her line.
I like Mark's tie there to it's an older code, sir, but it checks out.
Right. I thought of that too, Mark. High five, Mark. I thought of that too. I was about to clear them. This is the next line. I was about to clear them. Oh my goodness, we know way too much. Star Wars trivia. So it's an older code, sir, and it checked out, and it backfired big time because these people, basically, I think Balin says something along the lines of, we're about to show you our ID.
Yeah,
and of course they attack and trash the place. And
quick sidebar, I really like their costumes. Both Balin's apprentice and Balin's. I think it's a neat look on both of them. So shout out to the costuming department.
Well, I've always been really impressed with costuming. The costuming for all of the latest Disney Star Wars series her name is Shauna Tripsick. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because she actually had, I've said it's very odd to say that costuming was one of my favorite things about the animated feature, The Clone Wars. I think costuming in in an animated feature, she actually had her hand in that too.
Yeah.
The costuming
that's
for
cool.
The Clone Wars is gorgeous.
Wow.
So that carries on, that carries over.
It's it's all about how you present a character, and so costuming is key. The
really
colors
is.
they wear, the way that their outfit's made up and everything. It plays a lot in the presentation of the character. And
it really does.
Also a big wrestling fan, and that's part of the thing.
It's true.
The way you present a character plays a big role, and how they're perceived by the fans.
Has to do with their theming, and tells you something. Well, and how anybody dresses tells you a lot about them. It really does if you think about it. So costuming is really good already in this series, and I've really liked a lot of what she's done with Ahsoka's costuming up to this point. Ahsoka has had several different.
Speaking of Ahsoka, the Ahsoka Cincy Buddy is on sale through Cincy, and so Jillian's dropped the link there in the chat if anybody's interested in checking that out.
Oh, it's on sale. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's on sale, but
it's for sale.
For sale.
That's gosh, guys, that Cincy Buddy is so cute, y'all. Be sure and check it out and see if you want that. It's really, really cute. So by all means, check that out. I was hoping they would do an Ahsoka one. I'm probably going to have to order it. We'll say, hey guys,
Yeah.
hey guys. Okay, moving right along.
So yeah,
Go ahead.
so they head for the detention level. They're Balin and his apprentice are heading to and let's see, let me double check. I've watched the episodes, but I keep forgetting his apprentice's name. Is it Shin? Shin Hayden?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they both head for the detention level to find their fighting their way toward Morgan Elsbeth. And Balin, it's pretty solid. I mean, the way he rips through them is kind of Vader-esque. Kind of Vader hallway scene-esque. And they're these rebels are no match for him, not even remotely. So
no.
So they work their way there. They free Morgan Elsbeth again. She's the magistrate. From that chapter 13 of the Mandalorian season 2, and so
we know from that episode of the Mandalorian, she is ruthless and evil.
Yeah.
She is really
bad news.
She's on the right side,
and obviously has some sort of connection to Thrawn because Ahsoka shakes her down at the end of the episode for where is Grand Admiral Thrawn. So she tells him that Ahsoka knows about Thrawn and is looking for the map. We assume Morgan told Ahsoka this information when she captured her.
Well, exactly, and she conveniently doesn't tell him how Ahsoka knows about Thrawn. You notice she didn't say, "I spilled the beans, I spilled the guts" to Ahsoka. And we later learn that Ahsoka may have employed some not so Jedi tactics to get that information from her. But she conveniently leaves out how Ahsoka knows that Thrawn is knows about the map. So
Balin, so as we mentioned, Balin, his line, "We are no Jedi," kind of harkens to Ahsoka's line, famous quote, "I am no Jedi." Continuing on, we cut to the planet. Is it Arcana? Arcana, the former stronghold of the witches of Dathomir, which again harkens back to you see some of the witches of Dathomir featured in the Clone Wars animated series. Welcome in, Dave. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. And so Ahsoka is approaching the center of some ancient ruins. She cuts a hole, which I thought was super cool. She kind of walks. She walks up to this kind of opening, and it's just like everybody else is playing checkers and she's playing chess, and so I thought this was a really cool move, and
I did too.
And so she cuts a hole with her lightsabers and falls through to the center chamber below. We've seen her do this, in other media as well, but it's just such a cool move.
It really is. She does it she's done it before. She's done it with Captain Rex in tow, and it's a cool move. I loved it right off the bat.
Yeah. And so she, it's kind of Indiana Jones-esque. She's trying to figure out this map. There are, mysterious markings on the wall. And, she's got to figure out how to turn
she
these
into a chamber. She cuts a hole underneath herself and falls on the piece that she cut out directly onto the floor of the chamber below, which is really neat.
Yeah. And so she's like trying to align the tops of these little, almost kind of parking barrier looking, poles. And so she's, kind of positioning them and they're kind of lighting up and she's getting it right.
Sort of a Tetris thing there she's working on with the whole Indiana Jones approach.
And so she figures it out, gets everything positioned right, and opens a pedestal where she finds a gold orb with symbols on it embedded in a stand that rises from the floor. She attempts to contact her droid. Hey, welcome in, Derpy. So Derpy, we're cutting back to episode 1 and 2 we're covering today. We'll cover 3 next Thursday. Let's see. So she tries to contact Huyang, but the transmission's kind of gargled. And so she jumps out of the chamber to the surface and she finds a droid waiting for her.
Yeah, and, there's always a hitch.
Yeah,
there's always a hitch.
It's too easy.
Thanks, Derpy.
And so the droid demands that she surrender the map. She fights him and 3 others, again dropping, which I thought this was super cool, just dupes them. She's outgunned, she's outnumbered, but she...
And they think they've got her surrounded. There are 4 of them. They should have her surrounded.
Yeah, and so she drops back into the hole that she cut a minute ago and then starts cutting holes out from underneath them and jumps back out. And so she's taking the numbers advantage away from them immediately. And so I was just like, oh, man.
She takes them out.
So crafty.
It's like whack-a-mole. You know, it's like whack-a-mole. They immediately start dropping through holes that she's cutting out. Oh,
it's so good.
Them. It really is good. It really is good. It's classic Dave Filoni.
Yeah. And so she evens the odds very quickly and makes short work of them. And so after she's, cut these holes and takes them all out, she jumps out of the chamber, takes another one of them out, and the remaining droid, they all go into self-destruct mode, essentially.
Yeah.
And so she's got to get out of there. And so she takes off at a sprint, trying to get back to her ship. Yang is a little too far away for comfort. With the ship, and so she's running, and it's kind of got the explosion and all the dirt and dust flying behind her and everything.
It's getting closer to her as it spreads out.
She hops onto the I guess what's it, a dock, or hops onto the ramp, and it gets into the ship. But it's quite the explosion. Yeah, it's earth-shattering kaboom. This is no small explosion. Those droids blowing up. Is meant. I mean, obviously, these are basically like assassin droids, and so if they can't get the job done, through combat means, then your second best bet is try to blow up whoever you're after. So
right.
So anyway, she runs, finally, gets a hold of Yang. He drops the ship down. She hops onto the ramp, and she jumps on it mid-flight, narrowly escaping the explosion. Great scene there.
Right. It really is.
She tells Yang to stay closer and watch her back, and he points out, it makes a really good point here. He's a droid. But he makes a good point here that that is the job of a Jedi Padawan learner, which I am not. And I love how his dialogue, like his lines, are always kind of brief and to the point. He doesn't beat around the bush. And so,
he's not overly talkative. C-3PO, a lot of times they had to shut
chatters.
C-3PO up because he was chattering. Not Hu Yang. Hu Yang is straight to the point, painfully so sometimes, as Sabine later points out. And so, I like Hu Yang. I do.
Yeah. And so, I think it's, I love that this character's featured here. We've seen him in the Clone Wars animated series. He's essentially, his job for a very, very long time in the Order was to help Padawans assemble their lightsabers, and so that comes into play later in this episode as they're gathering information.
He's played by David Tennant. He's played by David Tennant.
I think he's one of the former doctors in Doctor Who, I want to say.
There's
big following for that. I've seen people comment on it. Could be wrong, but I've seen people comment on that. I don't follow that show, but a lot of people love it. So
I have to look that up. Yeah.
But so she tells him that she found the map right where Morgan said it would be, and she did not follow the standard Jedi protocol to get the information from her. These are this is just kind of painting outside, coloring outside the lines a little bit. If she's not a Jedi, then she has a little bit more flexibility. The rules are more like guidelines.
Right.
So
The Jedi Code is more like guidelines anyway, she figures. Yeah.
So we get an incoming transmission from to Fulcrum, which is Ahsoka's code name. Ahsoka radios that they are on approach and gives her call sign is T6 1974, which is Dave Filoni's birthday, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
June 6, 1974. I didn't know that. I don't know, where'd you stumble across that? Or did you just Google it?
I found that somewhere in my readings around. I think that was on the trivia section, IMDb, Internet Movie Database.com. I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
And then Ahsoka's ship is a T6 shuttle that she used. So now they're on board the New Republic.
That shuttle in she used that shuttle in Rebels as well.
Yeah. So now they're on board the New Republic Star Cruiser. Ahsoka meets with General Harrison Dula, who's played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who in real life, as of I think last year, as recently as last year, tied the knot with Ewan McGregor. So you have Obi-Wan and Harrison Dula are an item in real life.
And so if you look up Mary Elizabeth Winstead, obviously with head, tails, and green skin, she looks nothing like, she's unrecognizable, but look her up and see what she looks like in real life. She's a pretty lady. Yeah. She's pretty as Hera, I think.
Yeah. And so she, she tells Ahsoka about the prison break. She doesn't know the identity of the Jedi posers, and so they vanished without a trace. Ahsoka shows Hera the map, saying that the day isn't a total loss. She explains that Thrawn's death was never confirmed, and that the map contains information on how to find him. Hera asks if it's possible that Thrawn is alive. That would also mean that Ezra would also be alive.
Possibly be alive. Ezra Bridger is a central character to this, guys. If you have not watched, if you haven't watched Rebels, you absolutely need to do that, or look up Ezra Bridger. Go to Wikipedia. Yes, that is a thing. Wikipedia.com and look up Ezra Bridger, and it will explain who Ezra is.
Yeah, Padawan learner of Kanan Jarrus, also known as his real name's Caleb Dune, and then he has Thrawn or Ezra's character gets very interesting because he also has some interaction with Darth Maul as well.
That's true.
It's his character is interesting. He's from Lothal also, and so that's why a decent part of the Rebels story is centered around Ezra. And so Ahsoka replies that she hopes that Ezra's still alive. He tells them that the map is locked, and so they can't look at it. And Hera says, "It's never a straight line with you Jedi, is it?"
And I thought, it's not. It's not. We have been following that crooked line since 1977.
It's
long before Hera was born, probably.
So she suggests that Ahsoka contacts Sabine Wren for help. She says that Sabine will help for Ezra. Now Ahsoka's hesitant there. She's like, oh, wait a minute. So there's tension. You already know that there's something going on between Sabine and Ahsoka, but we don't know what it is yet. And so so then we cut to a ceremony on Lothal to honor the crew of the Ghost for liberating them from the Empire. During the events of the season finale of Rebels. If nothing else, you could watch a season finale of Rebels. You're going to be missing a ton of backstory. So context wise, you're not going to fully understand or appreciate what's happening, but it would help you to understand kind of the setup for the beginning of the show.
That's true.
And so a large crowd is gathered in Lothal, which it was also super cool to see live action Lothal. I mean, granted, it's CGI, but
that's true. Yeah,
but it's still really cool to see. They've got some really pretty scenes and sets.
They do.
On
They've
Lothal.
done a nice job with it. Yeah, they've done a nice job with it.
So we kick it off.
It was pretty in animation. So
yeah, it was. So we kick it off with everybody's gathered for the dedication of a monument to the Ghost Crew, which is the mural painting that we see in Rebels, which is super cool to see in live action.
Oh man, yeah, how neat was that?
And so Ryder Azadi is the governor of Lothal and introduces Commander Sabine Wren, and she's a no-show. And which, you know, he has such an iconic voice. I want to say, I think his name is Clancy Brown. I'm double checking that. Brown, yes. So he is, you know, Ryder Azadi. He is, you know, what's the word? Reprising his role in live action, which I think is super cool.
He is, yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, and I've talked to Mom about this before, but that's really one of the neat things about the casting, you know, for Rebels, for Star Wars, the animated series, the Clone Wars, is that, you know, it's almost like they were so forward thinking as to like, no, at some point we're gonna pick this up in live action, and so we could potentially have these characters come back, you know, except, you know, not in animated form, but, you know, in live action, portray it themselves. So you know, I don't know.
Some of them are you know, actors, not just voice actors, but actors. There is a difference, and they can reprise their roles as is the fellow who's going to play Grand Admiral Thrawn also played him. Lars Mikkelsen voiced Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he will play Grand Admiral Thrawn in this series. It's really exciting.
And so, you know, Clancy Brown, you know, I most associate him with Mr. Krabs, you know, from SpongeBob. But you know, he's Ryder Azadi in Rebels. He's the Devilronian character in Star Wars: The Mandalorian. The was it The Prisoner? I think is the name of the episode.
Yes.
And so
I did not recognize him.
Yeah,
I did not. Yeah, I did not recognize him. Yeah,
and so
but he's Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob.
And then he voices Surtur from Thor Ragnarok, the giant character that destroys Asgard. Spoiler alert. And so anyway, it's cool to see him get to reprise this role in live action.
He's a great voice actor and actor. I like to see him show up.
So, you know, he cuts to Sabine and she's not there. And so embarrassed, the governor introduces Senator Jai Kell to stall and sends people to find Sabine. You know,
get out there and say something. I've got to stall for time.
Which is another character from Rebels. And so, you know, not that, you know, the actor was not able to reprise the role. It's a different person, but it is a character that they used in Rebels. So it's pretty neat to see that, you know, he grew into being a senator. But we cut to Sabine. We cut to Sabine riding a speeder with some interesting music playing.
Yeah.
Which I was like, what? I was like, I wasn't sure what to do with it. You know, it sounds. It just sounds completely different than anything we've heard in Star Wars. You know,
at
least to me. And so, but at the same time, like, you know, I can, you know, I'm open to, you know, hearing something different in Star Wars. So, you know, it didn't bother me that much.
No baby.
But we had a couple of ships, you know, tried to pull Sabine over and, you know, remind her where she's supposed to be, and she just keeps on trucking, and so they go to you know, essentially blockade her, and that she's undeterred.
She doesn't. You've seen this happen in movies before. She tilts the speeder like a motorcycle and slides underneath the ship. The security officer's ship, and they're like, "Oh, whoa!" They just know she's going to crash into him. Of course, she doesn't. She does the cool maneuver and just slides right under him and keeps on going. So, you know,
and you know, and one of the ships kind of catches up with her, and they just both kind of nod. It's like, all right, you know, you could go, you know, go about your business.
It is what it is, right? Okay, not today. And it kind of sets, Sabine's a rebel
Yeah.
personality. Sabine is a free thinker. She is
Yeah.
not one to follow the rules, which does not lend itself. It lends itself to being a Mandalorian, but not a Jedi. So, anyway,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it's interesting too. You can kind of see that free spirit. One of the central key points of her character is she's artistic. You can see the drawings on the wall of her room and the
she's the
tower.
artist.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so like even her pauldrons have special art on them, and so whenever she does don her outfit. And so anyway, it's it's a part of who she is. She thinks outside the box. She's highly intelligent, and so very good with technology and things like that. But yeah, she's I mean, hence Star Wars Rebels. I mean, she's a rebel at her core.
She is.
So.
She's very much Mandalorian.
Yeah,
she is. She is everything you expect in a Mandalorian. She really is.
And so, Mom, do you want to pick up with Sabine's tower?
Sure. Okay, so after let's see, let me go back
Ezra's
here.
disappearance.
So after Ezra's disappearance, Sabine took residence in the Lothal Net Communications Tower, which was where Ezra hung out.
Yeah.
And so, after he disappeared and they all decided to stay to prevent a further, Imperial encroachment, she moved into Ezra's place. And it's this huge tower. It's pretty cool. I would love to live there. And so she goes in and she feeds her loth cat. Now, this is the first time that we see a loth cat.
Yeah.
Loth cats are so cool, guys. They have huge ears.
They really are, though.
I love the loth cat. Well, of course, I'm a cat person.
Yeah.
But on the first, in one of the first episodes of Rebels, we're introduced to the loth cats.
Yeah.
And they are native to the planet.
Lothal.
Lothal.
Which is like loth cat.
Has a pet.
Just like Lothal.
She has a pet loth cat. So she goes in, she pets the cat, feeds the cat, just like you would do, when you were coming into your own apartment. She retrieves a box from under a table. And if you're paying attention, which you always should be, because they drop Easter eggs, tons of Easter eggs, we kind of see her Mandalorian helmet that's stored
sticking out of the bag,
in a bin. It's sticking. I said, oh! There's her helmet. There's her helmet. So she retrieves this box from underneath this table and finds a hollow message. She picks up the hollow message and she's looking at it, and you can tell that it means a lot to her. She plays it, and it is a message from Ezra. And he, of course, appears and basically tells her, gives us a little background. He tells her that more than any of the others, he wants her to understand his choices. And, he chose to sacrifice himself to save his planet, free his planet from the Empire, and to defeat Thrawn.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm not going to be there anymore. But he tells her, he considers, they're not blood family, but he considers her to be family, and he encourages her to continue the fight. So it's an emotional, really emotional thing, but we do get to see that background. We get to see teeny tiny little Ezra as a hologram, and we'll see. I'm thinking we'll see big Ezra later on. So
I am intrigued. One thing we talked about costuming a minute ago, but I did want to mention, like, his costume is Rebels accurate, from the show. And so, same thing with Hera, same thing with Sabine. Like, it's really cool how they've, brought their costumes to life, and they look good. They don't look cartoony. They fit. It's really, really neat.
Yeah, they're sticking to it. I'm just as a sidelight or just a quick note. I'm really interested to see how we like the guy that they have gotten to play Ezra Bridger when he shows up later, and he will hopefully in this season. I'm anxious to see how well he plays Ezra, because we all love Ezra, and I think Filoni and Favreau know that it's really important that they get the casting right. I will say that Natasha Liu-Bordizzo, who plays Sabine, is spot on for Sabine. I think they hit the jackpot with her. I think she's really going to be good as Sabine.
I think just from this little holo message, I thought the cadence of his speech was spot on. So I think, I think, hopefully this is, they're good things to come with Ezra. But I thought just from the, the small snippet of the holo message, I thought it was pretty good. So we shall see.
Yeah. So we cut to the planet Arcana and the Night Sisters of Dathomir Temple there. The witches of Dathomir are really, really fascinating. Really fascinate me. I may do a little background on them at some point, but there's a lot of detail in Rebels on the witches of Dathomir, of which Morgan Elsbeth is a member. She's standing there with Baylan and Shin to see if the map is there. They've gone back to, this is the place where Ahsoka found the map, and they've gone back to check to see if they, after the big explosion and everything, to see if it's there. Shin concludes that Morgan is a witch. Heretofore, apparently Shin did not realize that she is in fact a witch of Dathomir. So that makes a lot. Which
I was unprepared for that revelation. Also, I was like, "What?"
Yeah, It makes sense though. She's got the look. I mean, it makes sense. That she's creepy, and so it really fits to me that they've made her one of the witches. And
she puts up a decent fight. Against Ahsoka. Using that Beskar steel spear. And so, I mean, it kind of lends itself to, she's not just a dignitary, she's not just a figurehead, she's.
You knew that there was something more to her when you saw her fight Ahsoka like that. You thought, okay, there's something, she's not, again, like you said, she's not just.
She has training.
She has training. And so now we find out where that comes from. But anyway, she's Shin, figures it out, and she basically confirms it. Baylan comes and reports that the map is not there. He says either Ahsoka took it or it was, totally obliterated in the explosion. Morgan, says, okay, send Shin to Lothal to find the map. So so you can see her kind of, her thought process. There, she kind of fills in some of the blanks and says, we need to go after Sabine Wren. Because Sabine Wren he tells her to find Ahsoka's apprentice. Okay. That's the first time I knew that Ahsoka had an apprentice. I don't remember. Has that ever been said before?
No.
Is it just me?
No. She... Sabine's training during Rebels, as far as, she obtains the Darksaber, she gives it to Bo-Katan. And so, in Rebels. And so she trains with it, but, very much like Mando, it's heavy for her. She's. That's
true.
Same thing. It's not. She doesn't necessarily believe that she's necessarily worthy of it, if you will. And so it's hard for her and difficult for her to train with it. And so anyway, she gives it to Bo-Katan, and then, there's, we don't have time to run through all the changes of hands with the Darksaber after that point. But, so that's the only Jedi training we'd seen, at the end of Rebels, we see her go with Ahsoka to try and find Ezra, but that's we're not told, hey, that like she was training her as a Jedi.
No.
And so
at
anyway,
that point, they're just friends.
Yeah.
They who love Ezra. They both love Ezra.
Yeah. And so
and they're going together.
Yeah.
So this is kind of
that's
revelation.
The first time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I went, oh, what?
Yeah. Well, there was a trailer that mentioned that, and so that was, it wasn't super shocking because I was like, okay, they kind of gave that away in the trailer.
Well, see, my brain didn't remember that. I didn't remember that. But at any rate, it's an interesting. It's really it sets up.
Yeah, I mean, because we've never seen
dynamic.
We've never seen Sabine use the Force, which
that's true.
Will come into play later. But I mean, it's not like she was, she's not like your traditional Jedi where they were picked up as a child and taken to train on Coruscant at the Jedi Temple. That's not what happened here. And so the extent of her training that we've seen thus far with her character is her training with Kanan and Ezra.
And she would not be the first Mandalorian who is also a Jedi. Yeah. Because we know that Tar Vizsla. I was coming up with Vizsla, wasn't Tar Vizsla, who created the dark saber, was Jedi and Mandalorian. So that's an interesting mix, the two philosophies there. But anyway, so we cut to, we kind of go back and forth here from Sabine's tower to onboard Ahsoka's ship. We cut to Sabine. Sabine is asleep. She's in her apartment. She's dreaming about Ezra's disappearance, and she's having something of a nightmare. And she wakes up, with the start. She sees Ahsoka's ship fly overhead. She wakes up, she sees Ahsoka's ship fly overhead. Of course, she recognizes, that it's Ahsoka, and she meets her at the landing dock. Governor Ryder is there with Ahsoka and Huyang, and of course, the governor scolds her immediately for missing the ceremony. He says everybody was there, and she kind of looks at him and goes, "Well, not everybody."
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah. Oh, that was yesterday. I'm so sorry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously, she missed it because she did not want to attend it.
Yeah.
But so, Sabine greets Huyang, and they have a little exchange. She's already talked to the governor, and so that just leaves Ahsoka standing there, and the tension is definitely there. They're kind of looking at each other. It's very awkward. And the governor just whispers to her as he exits. Huyang goes back to the ship knowing that these two need some time. The governor, whispers to her, you're gonna want to hear what she has to say. So, there's an awkward silence there between the two of them when they're left alone. And then Ahsoka holds up the map and she says, I think I know how to find Ezra. Mm-hmm. So Ahsoka, cuts through it because she knows that she needs to get Sabine's attention, and she does. So when she and Sabine are alone on Ahsoka's ship, Sabine is being, sarcastic, and she's clearly still upset with Ahsoka about something. But, Ahsoka kind of tries to stick to business, shows her the map, points out it could be a clue to finding Ezra. Sabine picks it up, looks at it. Now, remember, Hera, influenced Ahsoka to have her look at it because of Sabine's artsy side. And this orb, has markings on it. Ahsoka's hoping that maybe she's seen something like it before. She looks at it and she says, well, nobody makes it locks the map without some sort of a key or a codex to be able to read it. And so, she says, I need to take it with me, go somewhere where I can think a little better to try and open it. Um, so the clue could well come from the temple, which Hu Yang maps out and projects on the table to try and help with this whole process. But Sabine wants to take the map, back with her in order to find a way to open it. Yeah. And Ahsoka, thinks about it for a second, and she says, "No, this isn't just about finding Ezra. It's about preventing another war. The map stays here."
Uh-huh.
And Sabine says, "Well, you don't think I know that?" I mean, Sabine's a little cocky. She really is. And she probably doesn't.
You can tell Ahsoka didn't trust her either.
No, she doesn't. There's not a, their relationship is tumultuous. And so, Ahsoka's not sure what she's going to do. She just went through quite a bit to obtain the map. It took her a while to get this thing. And so, she says this is not just about finding Ezra. It's about preventing another war, which is pretty serious. So Sabine says, okay, so then Ahsoka, but Sabine is still holding the orb, and Ahsoka leaves the room to speak to Hu Yang, and he tells her that one of the lightsabers that he is checking into, the two Jedi posers who turn out to be, Baylan and Shin, he's still trying to find out who they are, and so he's tracking their lightsabers.
Which I think is super cool.
A lightsaber
and the perfect character to do so. Yeah.
The lightsaber is apparently unique to its owner.
Yeah.
Jedi children and users build their own lightsabers, which makes it unique to that person. We know that we buy lightsabers at Galaxy's Edge or wherever. They're all different. They all look very different. So anyway, Hu Yang was tasked with trying to track the lightsabers. And he says that one of them was definitely designed by a Jedi, but he doesn't know who. But the other one was designed by Baylan Skoll. He knows who trained at the Jedi Temple. He recognizes one of them as being Baylan Skoll. So he's identified him. And he says, so he was a Jedi, and he disappeared at the end of the Clone Wars, like so many, of the Jedi after Order 66. So what they know now is that we have a master and apprentice. And so Ahsoka walks back, because she wants to tell Sabine what's going on. Sabine's not there, which we saw that coming wide open. I think we all saw that coming. We knew what was going to happen there. But then, so we go, back on board Ahsoka's ship. Let's see, did I skip anything? Oh, I think we're good. Ahsoka is talking with Hera, and who's present via hologram again. Hera is always an advocate. Hera is an advocate for Sabine. She's trying to reconcile these two. They're both her friends, and she's really trying to mend the fences, between Ahsoka and Sabine. Ahsoka says she took the map. She took. I mean, at this point, if I were Ahsoka, I'd be pretty upset. We can understand her frustration. Hera points out Sabine is Mandalorian, and Ahsoka knew exactly what she was walking into. And she makes a comment that kind of cuts Ahsoka. Hera says she's sure that Ahsoka's master wasn't always pleased with her. And of course, we all know Ahsoka's master was none other than Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. Ahsoka says, well, Anakin never got to finish her training. She walked away from him, just as she walked away from Sabine. Now we know the story. We know Ahsoka's story about how she walked away from Anakin. She left the Jedi Order. We have not heard Sabine's story yet, but I'm sure that's coming. And Hera says, well, I'm sure you had your reasons for that. And Ahsoka responds, well, sometimes even the right reasons lead to the wrong consequences. So that I thought was a really interesting point there. You want to wrap it up, will you?
So yes, we cut back to Sabine's tower. Sabine has taken the map and heads back to her place. She's being watched by Shin.
Surprise.
Yeah, who thought? She works on opening the map. Finally figures it out with the help of the Yang ship scan of the witch's temple, and the map opens. It reveals a hollow of a planet with a pathway to another galaxy, which is kind of it's kind of shocking. It's like, okay, they're expanding here,
right?
As far as I think this is the first time they've ever alluded to there being another galaxy in Star Wars outside.
Yeah, I think you're
the one
right.
that they're in, and so kind of expanding the world here. And so as Ahsoka and Hu Yang, sorry, my bad, I cut ahead there. The map opens, we get the hollow of the planet and the pathway to another galaxy. Sabine goes out onto the deck with binoculars. She tells her Lithcat, "I'm going on a trip. I think I'm going on a trip."
So she's looking. It's like, wow, because because she's kind of wowed too. Sabine is kind of like, oh, okay, this is one galaxy to another. This doesn't just lead from planet to planet.
Yeah, this is.
So she's kind of blown away too. Yeah.
And so, at that moment, she's ambushed by Shin and her droids. One of the droids goes in and steals the map and destroys the computers, of course. And Sabine says, "Hu Yang, I need backup now." Sabine retrieves her lightsaber,
Hu Yang for help,
which is Ezra's lightsaber. She retrieves her lightsaber, goes back out to face Shin, who's holding the map. As Ahsoka and Hu Yang rush to aid Sabine, Sabine and Shin duel. Sabine's obviously rusty with the lightsaber, and Shin defeats her and stabs her in the abdomen. And so Ahsoka arrives as Shin runs away. Sabine falls to the ground. Pretty solid fight scene. A good solid lightsaber battle.
And you can tell. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was very well done to convey to us that yes, Sabine has handled a lightsaber before, obviously, but she's really rusty.
Yeah.
And I loved the choreography in this. I thought it was really good. And obviously, we have learned in recent years that you can be run through with a lightsaber and survive, guys, which is something I would not have thought. But, I got to thinking about it. If you're run through with a lightsaber, does it not cauterize the wound all the way through you?
Yeah.
And just create a hole?
Pretty much. And so I mean, you look at the track record, Maul ends up being chopped in half.
That's true.
Sabine, as we find out here, she ends up surviving. Reva, it happens to her twice in the Kenobi series.
That's true.
As a child and as an adult.
That's true.
So the being run through, and also not only that, but the Grand Inquisitor, him too. He gets run through and survives, and so.
Yeah. So why couldn't Qui-Gon Jinn survive?
Yeah.
What's the deal? Why didn't Qui-Gon Jinn survive? I don't know. I feel cheated.
But anyway.
And let's not forget the one that Anakin killed in front of remember he killed I can't get Qui-Gon out of my mind. It'll come to me in just a minute. Remember the Jedi Council?
I'm drawing a blank.
I am too. It'll come to me. It'll come to me in just a minute.
I don't know. But anyway, we have the dedication at the end for our friend Ray, which is for Ray Stevenson, who plays Balin Skull. He passed away just a month or two ago, very recently, and so it's a shame that he's not you're not still here to see, how the show's received. I've seen many people speak, highly of his character's performance, which I agree it has been great thus far.
And stellar.
And so,
yeah. So he passed away just recently. But he did finish the series. This was his one of his last pieces of work. So yeah, we hate that.
And let's see. So that's the end of chapter 1. Feel like it's a good way to start. We had some, as they talked about. Yeah, I saw that.
Don't cross the streams, Tina.
As we discussed, or was mentioned in the chat earlier, it was nice that it started with some action. Didn't have the slow start that some of the other series we've watched thus far have.
And I feel like they were listening to fans. They were hearing fans on that, probably, don't you think?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And so we cut to part 2, which is Toil and Trouble. The first part was for Master and Apprentice, as a reminder. And so now we have Toil and Trouble. And so we have Ahsoka. We start this episode with Ahsoka standing in Sabine's hospital room. She tells her that the droids took the maps, that she had unlocked the map. It showed 2 galaxies with a pathway between them. The droid took it before she could decipher it. And Ahsoka's visibly upset that Sabine has lost the map. It's like, I mean, it's like I told you so. And so anyway, Sabine, Ahsoka's like, all right, I gotta go clean this mess up, essentially.
Right.
So Sabine says, Ahsoka, wait, you need my help. And Ahsoka hits her with, no, you've done enough. And so, there's a little salt in the wound there. And Ahsoka leaves. Balin and Shin land the ship at a ceremonial site and place the map on a pedestal, and it responds. She instructs Shin to contact Morgan Elsbeth and tell her they have located the reflex point. So, it's bad. It's bad news. We cut back to the comm tower on the fall. Ahsoka goes and checks out, Sabine's home. Senses what happened there, which I thought was pretty neat.
I thought it was cool too.
Senses the duel, senses what happened, and when Sabine was ambushed, she goes into Sabine's apartment and finds her Loth cat outside. She walks in.
I'll have to say here, I kind of saw this coming. Simply because the Loth cat was outside.
Yeah.
And the Loth cat was like looking inside. And I thought, oh, what is the cat afraid of inside? I actually did pick up on that, folks.
Yeah. Welcome in, Brian. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Brian.
Here. There we go. Get you written down here, Brian.
Welcome, Brian.
She walks in, listens to Ezra's holo message, and looks around. The enemy droid is still inside, attacks her, and she quickly cuts off his head. And Ahsoka says, I was hoping you were still here. And then Sabine's cat was outside when Ahsoka went in, like I was afraid to go in for some reason, like you mentioned. And because the droid was in there. So pretty perceptive for you to pick up on that. We cut back to Sabine's hospital room. Ahsoka returns the droid's head to Sabine, and this is a pretty funny scene. But she thinks that she can retrieve the data before the head explodes. Yeah.
So these things are all droids rigged with self-destruct. I don't know. But this one is apparently just the head.
Yeah, and so Yang isn't too fond of this idea.
Yang is not fond of this idea at all.
And Harris says, "I say go for it." And Yang says, "It's because you're a hologram."
If it blows up, you're not going to get killed.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have any skin in the game here.
Harris there as a hologram.
Pretty funny. But so Sabine's working quickly to decrypt the data before it barely gets done. You see this meter, and it's just the temperature's rising, and so once it maxes out, once it maxes out, the thing is going to blow.
There's an earth-shattering kaboom. A low shattering kaboom.
Yeah. So Sabine's working as fast as she can. She finds out that the droid's from Corellia, the New Republic shipyard. And it's funny because that the meter gets all the way to the top, like it's about to blow, and Huyang has seen enough, and so he unplugs it. He unplugs it, Sabine's able to uncover what they need to know. Ahsoka points out that Morgan Elsbeth had factories on Corellia. They should have been shut down, but when the New Republic took over. Hera says that she'll meet Ahsoka on Corellia, and Ahsoka leaves. Sabine wants to go, but Ahsoka says, you need to stay here and rest up.
You stay here. Yeah.
So, once again, leaving Sabine on the bench because she's already done enough damage.
Right.
And so the handheld device Sabine plugs into the droid's head is an old retro games console called Galaxy Invader CGL, vintage 1978. She just holds it upside down, which is pretty cool. I didn't know this.
I thought
pretty neat.
That was pretty cool. And when I watched it a second time, I really looked at that. Taking a look at that game console. I thought that was really neat. They slide in all kinds of good stuff like that, y'all. They do.
And so Sabine says, I haven't seen her in years, and the first thing I do goes sideways. Talking to Hera.
Yeah.
And Hera encourages her to help Ahsoka and assures her that Ahsoka really does want her help. So we cut to planet Cetos. I'm not sure. Morgan arrives. She opens up the map, which projects all around them. She harnesses her witchcraft to unlock the map and point to where the galaxy. Point toward the galaxy where Thrawn is. Morgan says that is our destination. Baylan says the pathway to Paradia.
So Baylan recognizes this point to point here. Yeah.
And so he says the children of the Jedi Temple call it that from stories and fairy tales. Morgan says they're based on truth, as many stories and fairy tales are. And she says that Thrawn calls to her across time and space, which I thought was interesting. And she closes the map.
Now, this is an interesting scene here. Just, as Morgan, because when it's interesting because Morgan opens this with witchcraft. Sabine had to open it. She had to, like a puzzle. She opened it like a Rubik's Cube, kind of thing, lined up. But Morgan doesn't employ that method. But it's pretty cool when it projects, this huge map all around them. It's a neat scene.
I'll let you continue from there.
So Morgan, moving right along here. The Eye of Cylon is on its way here. Make sure that everything is ready for its arrival. So Baylan tells Shin that Thrawn's arrival. So Morgan leaves at that point, and her work is done there. Baylan tells Shin, his apprentice, that Thrawn's arrival will mean war for some, but great power for them. So the old-fashioned power trip is what Baylan is after here, which probably is one of the things that led him as a Jedi to the dark side. He tells Shin, go to Corellia, assist with the final transport. And so, we're about to find out the final transport of what. So now keep in mind, Ahsoka and Hera are also headed for Corellia. So at this point, all roads lead to Corellia, and the New Republic shipyards are there. Now, Ahsoka and Hera arrive and request a tour of that facility because Morgan Elsbeth had a facility on Corellia. So they want to find out what the heck's going on. Min Weaver, who is the administrator, and I'm immediately, suspicious of him, reluctantly agrees. He protests, I'm busy. And Harris says, well, General Syndulla says, well, I can make this a more formal visit, formal inspection. He says, that won't be necessary. So he says, he tells them they're riding on this, on this little cart thing, little transport thing, through all of the shipyards and everything. And he's explaining to them what's going on. He says there are still a lot of ex-Imperials there. They're loyal to the New Republic. And, Hera questions us, well, aren't you, suspicious of their loyalty? Aren't you questioning of their loyalty? They were Imperial. And he says, well, they're loyal to the New Republic because they're paid to be loyal. So, and so immediately you think, well, a lot of times, people who are paid to be loyal to a cause stop being loyal when, they head for the hills, when they're stopped being paid or what. There's no real commitment. So during this, little ride, Hera asks, Hera and Ahsoka kind of engage in a more personal conversation. Hera asks if Ahsoka would consider taking Sabine as her Padawan again. Ahsoka replies that Sabine is not ready. And Hera says, I'm curious, what makes someone ready? Which is a legitimate, question. Ahsoka says, you just know. So kind of leave it at that. We cut back to Sabine's hospital room and find that Sabine has, made this miraculous recovery, as have others before her, and healed from her lightsaber run-through wound.
We get to see the wound also, which is interesting.
We do. Yeah. And so Hu Yang, so she's getting up, she's getting ready to leave. Hu Yang asks her about her lightsaber. And she says, well, it's Ezra's saber. And, says something about, obviously, she hasn't practiced recently because she ended up in the hospital. Hu Yang points out that, Sabine made her own modifications to Ezra's lightsaber. And so that makes it her lightsaber now. And now again, Hu Yang with this straight to the point, a rather irritating truth, that Sabine really doesn't want to hear about. But he tells her, he encourages her to begin training again, to put the past behind her. And, she mentions Ezra again, and Hu Yang says, your talents at wielding the Force can't even, hold a candle basically to Ezra's. You are the worst Padawan that I've seen in all my experience. It's like, okay, are we encouraging her or what? It's like brutal honesty. But he hands her the lightsaber, and tells her that the only time she's wasting is her own. So basically,
pretty good line.
Get back to work, girl. You're wasted time. So again, Hu Yang, cuts straight to the core of the apple, and hits Sabine with it, which causes her to think. A
little bit of motivation.
Right, little bit of motivation there with some brutal honesty. So we cut back to the planet Corellia and the new shipyards, and we're at the command center of Morgan's old complex. And Weaver is telling them about the operation. There are workers all around them, and panels and things, and that the whole operation is being monitored. New Republic ships are being built from old Imperial ships parts, which sounds suspicious to me. Feels weird, but I'll allow it. Hera sees a hyperdrive core being loaded. She's like looking out the window down onto the dock and sees a hyperdrive core, and she says, well, is that a hyperdrive core? And Weaver says, well, yes. And she says, well, what's it go? What kind of ship is it going into? The New Republic isn't building anything that large. So,
red flag.
Red flag. Weaver tries to tell her that information is classified, and Hera says, "I'm a general. Nothing is classified for me." And so, the scene, the tension is mounting, in the scene. That something is not right here. Obviously, Weaver is, a weasel, and so he calls over a droid to assist them. And, they ask about HK droids. Ahsoka says something about, well, do you have any HK class droids? And
a really cool nod to, a really cool nod to, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic with the HK assassin droids.
Yes, definitely. And so, he says assassin droids. No, we don't have any HK droids here. That would be, apparently there is a line, who they'll trust and who they won't. But this droid that's standing with them says, now, wait a minute, an HK droid recently prevented me from completing an inventory. And, and so that another, second red flag here. Yeah. And, and by the way, that HK droid is leaving on that transport down there. Yeah. So Hera orders them to stop that ship. They say, "Oh, can't do it." And the tension again is building. And finally, one of them jumps up out of his chair and yells, "For the Empire," and tries to attack Ahsoka, which obviously doesn't go well. I think she cuts off something. Does she cut off his hand? Or
I'm not sure. Yeah,
I have to go back and look. Cutting off hands is a big thing in Star Wars. But so she cuts him down, and immediately I love this move too. She takes her lightsabers, and as she jumps through the window down onto the dock below, she uses her lightsabers to shatter the window. So that it's a really cool move. Yeah, it is. So Hera runs to her ship, the Ghost, and yells, "Fire up the engines, Chop!" Oh my goodness, Chopper!
Yeah, I was really excited about this. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and it's Chopper! It's Chopper, guys. Chopper is the droid from Rebels that we love so much. Chopper is fantastic. If y'all love R2D2,
it's actually the Phantom that. It's actually the Phantom.
The Phantom.
Which kind of docks into the Ghost.
It does. Yeah, I've got that wrong in the note. So they take off, and so Ahsoka is down trying to stop the transport from taking off. Hera's trying to stop it from taking off from the air, and Hera tells Chopper to ready a tracking device and deploy it onto the transport, because she knows if she tries, after it takes off, if she tries to shoot it down, it's going to land on something, it's going to land in the city, and she doesn't want that. So her idea is for Chopper to deploy a tracking device onto it, and so that they can find out where it's going. So Ahsoka is standing on the dock. There is an Inquisitor, guys, on the dock. Man, where did he come from?
Yeah,
I don't know, but
we can't see his face. People are already making speculation. Yes. Some of them saying, "Oh, that some people have said, oh, he's called Merrick," and so people are speculating. Could it be Ezra? Of course, that was before the series came out.
Right.
People, this is before we see him interact, on screen. So people have been like, is this Ezra, before the show came out? People have also said, is it Starkiller from the Force Unleashed video game? And so, his name is Galen Merrick, but it's spelled differently. And so anyway, it's intriguing. We don't know who this character is, but he's got the Inquisitor lightsaber. It's double-sided. He opts to initially use it with just the one side. in this combat scene. But anyway, it's super cool. There are so many moments in this already in the first 2 episodes that kind of, I guess are kind of like nods to the Clone Wars or nods to Rebels. And so Ahsoka no-look dodges, as they're leaving, which it's a really cool fight scene between Ahsoka, and this droid and Merrick, and she dispatches the HK droid, which is pretty cool. And it's cool because she like runs it through, and then she like essentially fights Merrick from the other side of it. He's the one that slashes it the rest of the way apart into pieces. And so he starts off just using one side of his lightsaber, and then she beats the droid, and then he decides he needs to use both sides.
Right.
And so he throws the lightsaber at her, and as he's he hops on the dock and flies away with Shin and whoever else is on the ship with the hyperspace drive. And so it's pretty cool because there's a scene in the last season of Star Wars, the Clone Wars, where Anakin is standing there and just nonchalantly dodging blaster fire. Like he's just like barely like moving to dodge out of the way of blaster fire. And so we see Ahsoka dodge the 2-sided lightsaber thrown by Merrick, and she just barely moves out of the way. She moves out of the way just enough to dodge it. And so, the whole series has not do Clone Wars in it. Yeah. And so, anyway, she just barely dodges it. And I was like, that's an Anakin move there. Just barely, using minimal effort, but also kind of, showing out a little bit there of, like, oh, you thought you could get me, and I'm just gonna move out of the way just enough to dodge you. And so, they after the fight, or as the fight's progressing, Merrick hops onto the ship, and the Shin's there also, and
good fight scene.
His saber comes back to him, and Hera informs Ahsoka that they got the tracker onto the ship. It's a really funny scene, Chopper showing his personality immediately. After having been introduced, the arms, his arms make him special. He's got the little arms, and just the banter back and forth.
Chopper's great.
And he's like, have you been in my stuff? And he's trying to find the tracker in his little compartment there on the Phantom. And he's digging through it. She's like, "Well, did you look under there?" And so he
really cute. They're flying. All this is going on, and they're having this conversation. It's really cute.
They're firing the guns, and Hera's dodging the blaster fire, and it's pretty funny. But anyway, he finds the tracker, and it's so funny because he does like a little spin to toss the tracker with his little arms. Tosses it onto the ship before it jumps to hyperspace. But anyway,
but Hera trusts him.
Funny.
They have such a long. They have, if you've watched, if you have watched,
she tells him like, "Don't miss it this time" or something.
Don't miss.
Yeah.
But Chopper is
great initial introduction to general audiences for Chopper.
Yes, very much so. And I think that's what Filoni was probably going for there. Was to totally, immediately endear Chopper to audiences, and it worked. It worked, by the way, for sure. Yeah, it's really funny interaction there.
Yeah. So the tracker's on the ship. They know where it goes. So we cut to Sabine's tower on Lothal. She sits there and meditates, thinking about her Mandalorian heritage. And she puts her armor on.
She's thinking here, guys. I mean, after everything that's happened, she's having to kind of regroup and decide what she wants to do.
Yeah.
She really is. So she's sitting there giving it some thought.
Yeah. And so she's kind of sitting there meditating, and then she takes the knife and cuts her long hair with the knife,
Yeah.
and she goes back to that classic kind of Rebels look.
Yes.
It's funny because, people freak out without knowing, what's going to happen. And they're like, oh, they have her hair long. They already ruined her characters. Like,
Right.
well, chill out. Like, watch the show before you start passing judgment on it. Yeah, just because her hair's a little bit longer doesn't mean that they're, completely ruining the character.
Calm down. Exactly.
Yeah. And so anyway, she cuts her hair. This scene is scene parallels the scene with Kanan. After he's gone blind, and there's a scene with him holding a knife also. Very similar scene, comparing the side by side shots of and so another neat nod to Rebels. And so you can tell
at one point Kanan also changes his look.
He does.
He has the longer hair with the ponytail, and he cuts it. So I had not made that connection. Good connection there.
And so you can tell Sabine
she is Tina,
getting in the right frame of mind, to come back and contribute here.
Yes.
We cut back to planet Corellia, the New Republic shipyards. Ahsoka and Hera watch as Weaver and his minions are arrested and taken away, wondering how they could possibly still be loyal to the Empire. And Ahsoka says it's not loyalty, it's greed, and which is true. And
good line there.
Yeah. And so Chopper's monitoring the tracking device and will let them know when he has something. Ahsoka goes back onto the ship and receives a holo transmission signal. Sabine appears wearing her Mandalorian armor, so you can tell, she's ready. And Sabine says, "I'm ready." And so Hera asked, again, that comes back to Hera's line, how do you know when someone's ready for Jedi training? And Ahsoka says, "You just know." And so you could tell, Sabine's back. She's she's back and ready for business. So Ahsoka takes off on the ship. Sabine walks toward the mural of the Ghost Crew with Hera, Zeb, Sabine, Ezra, and Kanan, and Chopper, and touches Ezra.
This tugs at our hearts. This one tugged at my heart because it's them in cartoon form. It's just the coolest thing, and she is really,
and the two local, on either side too. It's a really neat mural from the show.
Yeah,
so
it is.
But she touches Ezra's image, wistfully. Ahsoka lands outside, and they walk over to meet. It's almost shot for shot from the final episode of Rebels. Where Ahsoka's waiting on her, except she's got like the little staff crook.
That's right.
Thing.
Yeah.
And so it's almost shot for shot. It's like, okay, these first couple of episodes have caught us up on what's going on here, and now we're ready to move forward.
Right.
But Ahsoka says, "Nice haircut." Sabine says, "It's more me." Huyang disembarks and tells them he's received a transmission from Hera. The transport was traced to the Denab system and remains in orbit around the planet Cetos. They take off, leaving Lothal, and they're both sitting there, at kind of the two seats there at the and Ahsoka says, "Take us out." And there's a little bit of pause there, and she says, "Padawan," and so we're the gang's back together.
Business.
Yeah, and so this is the first time. This is the first time Sabine has left Lothal. It's Ezra's home planet. She stayed after they liberated it from the Empire to prevent any further attack. So it's emotional for her to leave.
This is very emotional for her because she this is Ezra's planet.
Yeah.
She stayed behind to protect it from further Imperial incursion.
I mean, aside from looking for at where we're left at the end of Rebels, aside from her and Ahsoka being tasked with finding Ezra.
Yes.
I mean, that's I mean, she's
Yeah.
It's obvious.
Well, and she now at the end that's a good point, William, because at the end of Rebels, Sabine is thinking, okay, that Ezra has actually tasked her with coming to find him. That do you remember that?
Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy, but yeah.
I'll have to look. I watched it a couple of weeks ago. I'll have to watch that again to be sure. But I believe at the end of Rebels, Sabine actually, Sabine thinks, for reasons that I'll have to review, that Ezra wants her to try to find him.
Yeah.
So I'll have to check on that. But I believe that's the case. But yeah, this is very poignant stuff, very emotional, and so So then a little closing sequence here on the planet CTOS. Morgan Elsbeth reports to Baylan and Shin that the installation of the hyperdrive, the big hyperdrive that they just flew out of there, is almost complete, and soon the Eye of Sion will be done so that they can free Admiral Thrawn, and bring him back. That's their ultimate goal. He's in exile. Baylan comments that it would be a shame. Well, they talk a little bit about Ahsoka. She's Morgan basically says, "You're concerned about Ahsoka, and what do you see?" And so Baylan, reaches out with the Force and says, she's coming. He can, tell that Jedi and Sith apparently can sense each other through the Force. We've seen Luke and Darth Vader do this. We've seen Obi-Wan do it. They can sense each other through the Force, and so Baylan knows that Ahsoka is coming. And he comments that it would be a shame to kill Ahsoka since so few Jedi remain. And Morgan says sentimental, and Baylan says truth. So, that's basically the wrap up of 1 and 2, and that's where we stand. The next one should be, the next one will really be new territory. We'll be covering some new ground to see where we're going to go. So we've got the third episode, and then 3 after that. So we are almost halfway through already, because they released the third one. Rey and Kylo, exactly, Tina. Yeah, exactly. So they can feel each other. Definitely, Rey and Kylo, they basically talked, through the Force. So it definitely is a connection there. So the Force is, a means of communication too. But that pretty much wraps up the first 2. And there is somebody, William, I don't know that I wanted to ask this question. I've got to go back and look, but there's a third person. Like Baylan and Shin are holograms. They're communicating with Morgan Elsbeth via a hologram. There's a third person standing there.
And it's not Merrick? It's not the Inquisitor?
Merrick. Okay. Oh, okay. It's got to be, it's got to be Merrick. It's got to be the Inquisitor. Okay. That's it. I wasn't picking up on that. Because he boarded the ship too with Shin. So that's who it is. So just quickly, guys, we'll run through this. Ahsoka's ship, couple of trivia pieces here. Ahsoka's ship has the serial number T6974. We told you that's Dave Filoni's birth date, is 7/6/1974, which is pretty cool. And filming of the series began on Rosario Dawson's birthday, which was May the 9th. So that's
pretty cool.
Kind of a couple of the trivia points there. Recommendations on Disney Plus, guys. Ahsoka essential episodes are grouped on Disney Plus right now, so you can go and watch those. We also have a list of essential episodes in the description of this video if you want to take a look. There are episodes from the Clone Wars, Rebels, and Tales of the Jedi animated series. all of those. And so if you want to just get the pieces from those series that are dealing with Ahsoka, you can check out that list. And what are your thoughts, William? What are your takeaways from these 2 episodes?
I enjoyed it. It's helping bring everybody up to speed. It was 100% the right call to release these 2 to start it off. And so, I think that was the right call to release 2 to start the show, because I definitely feel like those first 2 episodes go together. And so, I enjoyed episode 3. I've already watched episode 3. I watched it on Tuesday night, when it came out. And so, I enjoyed episode 3. Looking forward to talking about it. But, so far I'm enjoying it. I feel like they've done a good job, transitioning the characters from, animation to live action. And so, I'm excited to see where they take it.
Well, I am too. I think this really is, thanks,
you,
Kelly. I appreciate that. But yeah, Dave Filoni is really just continuing. He's continuing the animated series in live action here, basically. I need to go back and watch again. I think I probably missed some Easter eggs, because they, how they love to throw in those Easter eggs. I'm enjoying the series so far. I have read opposing comments, about this series. And that a lot of people just hate it and they trashed it. And okay, those people are always going to be there.
It's true.
But there's so many. I feel like a lot of those people who didn't like it have never seen Rebels. I really feel like that. That might play into some of the people who are.
And I think people also too. Also too, you're right. People are just not going to like it regardless of what they do.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
My thing is, I think people are so, cynical when it comes to Star Wars, because they're disappointed by the sequel trilogy. People complained about the, and that's the Disney trilogy I'm talking about. People complain about the prequels. So you're always going to have some group of people that complain about whatever Star Wars project, with the exception, as of late, The Mandalorian and Tales of the Jedi are pretty much the 2 exceptions to that rule.
And possibly
and that was season 1 and season 2. Yeah. And season 1 and season 2 of The Mandalorian, Tales of the Jedi, and then, like you said, Andor was very well received as well. But you're always going to have some group of people that, that poo-poo the show. But I just, people need to calm down, like see what story they're going to tell.
Yes.
And just because they don't take a story or do what you think they ought to do, everybody comes to, well, not everybody, but people who have watched, Rebels, Clone Wars, Bad Batch, people who have watched other shows, have some sort of like some, preconceived ideas of where they think they ought to go with it, where they're most likely going to go. Just sit back for the ride, be entertained, sit back for the ride, see where they're going to take it. And so
be entertained, people. Allow Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to do their thing, the thing that they do best, and just entertain you. Entertain you. Well, and Tina's got a good point here. She knows somebody that doesn't like anything that's been produced after Disney took over. Well, I'm sorry, but I'll have to say that is a cop-out, because there's no way this person should not like The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Anybody who actually considers themselves a Star Wars fan, if you can't watch season 1 and season 2 of The Mandalorian and be pleased with the story that they tell, I don't know what to tell you. You can throw rocks at season 3 if you want to. I think that's silly, to do that. But season 1 and 2,
are
I don't know
in every way. Yeah. Best Star Wars content we've gotten since 1977. The Mandalorian It is. So, simply because Disney took over, and that, I mean, people are going to, just write the whole thing off, but he's really, whoever this person is, they're really cheating themselves, I think.
Yeah, they are.
If they're just maintaining that attitude. And if they don't like anything that Disney did, that means they actually did watch it.
Yeah, that too.
I wonder.
And so, yeah, I mean, you can be unimpressed, you can, throw rocks at something, but I would much rather watch it, see what story they're going to tell, where they're going to take it, how they're going to develop the characters, and then make a call. Deciding that you hate it 2 episodes in is just silly.
Right. Yeah, not a good approach, I don't think.
Yeah.
Not a good approach. Now, I will say, just so you guys know that I'm not just a total, toxically positive. I do have a couple things here, that I noticed about it. I find Rosario Dawson. I love Rosario Dawson. Don't get me wrong, but I find her portrayal of Ahsoka so far to be a bit too unemotional. Just a bit. I wish she would amp it up a little bit, because Ahsoka, now I realize that she's grown up and matured, but a young Ahsoka was passionate.
Yeah.
Okay. Young Ahsoka was passionate. Ashley Eckstein, voiced her in the Clone Wars and did a fantastic job. And she conveyed Ahsoka's passion. So, I think Rosario Dawson needs to amp it up a little bit more, be more animated in her portrayal of Ahsoka. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I could definitely, I think that, I think we're going to get there. I think, the opportunity hasn't necessarily presented itself yet for her to, be a bit more, I guess passionate or, fiery, if you will, spark plug. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other piece is that now this is a big disappointment for me, guys, because you know how much I have loved the music for The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and of course Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I'm sure out of just respect for the material, John Williams himself even had his hand in composing the theme for Obi-Wan, which was absolutely fantastic. Guys, the theme for this is lackluster.
Yeah.
For me. It's completely,
it just kind of feels a little off.
It's more like background music.
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin Kiner, this is not Ludwig Göransson, who is the writer, the composer of the theme for the Book of Boba Fett and also The Mandalorian. It's Kevin Kiner. Kevin Kiner has done Disney content before. But oh my goodness, I don't hate it. I wouldn't say I hate it, but I'm very disappointed because Ahsoka's character deserves so much more. Yeah, she deserves something, something unique, and as unique and inspiring as The Mandalorian. Was. I was really hoping that Ludwig Göransson would do the music for this one. Anyway, so it's not it sounds like background music. It's lackluster. It has no heart. Yeah. It's not a strong enough piece for Ahsoka's theme. So those are
agreed. Yeah. I feel like definitely the main theme, for the show could have been a bit better. Real quick, a
lot better.
Yeah. Real quick, I just wanted I'll read everybody off that's joined the stream so far. I've actually got a 2:00 meeting coming up, so I have to hop off here in a second. I wanted to go ahead and read off everybody who's chatted thus far. Aunt Joy and Aunt Susan, Joey Kylie, and other family members. Wonderful World of Walter's dad, Mark, T. McNeil, the Mickey Bunch, Dad Builds, Najuma Brown, Dizzard Dream, Space Mountain Dave Cantrell, Derpy Entertainment, Dean and Turkey Lexter, and Brian's West Coast Disney Adventure. If I missed you, I apologize. We appreciate you being here. Thanks to everybody watching, live in ghost mode. Those that haven't commented but are watching, we appreciate y'all. And those watching on the replay, big shout out to Lisa, Keith, and Joey, captains of our team replay from the channel. It's Joey's World. So thanks to everybody for being here. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let you close it out if you don't mind, Mom.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, hon. Enjoyed it.
Love you. Look forward to next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so let me close it out, guys. Just some business here, right quick. I do have something to show you guys. I'm not going to keep you for too much longer, but I do have something to show you guys. I found this thanks to Stacy, one of our great Ghost Host mods, for letting me know that this is at Walmart. This is a Walmart exclusive. Ahsoka Tano, it's Hallmark, and Pop, a Funko Pop. It's a collaboration. But is that adorable? It's Ahsoka Tano. You can see her little lightsabers there. Isn't she adorable? So I got this one. I may have gotten more than one, but I thought she was just adorable. So I found that, and look for it at Walmart. It is a Walmart exclusive. So check it out and see. They also have some other great Star Wars characters and Marvel characters. So by all means, check those out. Yeah, thanks, Stacy, for sure, for the heads up on that. I went and found that one. Got the last two that they had, actually. And quickly, just some housekeeping here. Excuse me. Check out Hitchhiker Chat from 2 weeks ago. Guys, we talked about Ahsoka's background, who she is, where she came from, what we might see in this new series, but definitely check that out. We went into some great detail on Ahsoka's background. If you still really don't know who she is, check that out. Again, essential episodes are listed in the description of this video. If you want to check out some other Ahsoka content to get to know her a little bit better. On Friday, guys, I'm going to post our dining review of Roundup Rodeo Barbecue in Toy Story Land at Hollywood Studios. This is from our recent trip, and it was our first time there. So I'm going to post that, let you know what we thought about that. It's going to be a really fun video that will go up Friday. Be sure to join us, guys, for our weekly show, our regular show, if you will, Hitchhiker Chat, on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to join us or watch the replay. We also have a playlist if you want to look at some past episodes. We've been doing that for coming up on 4 years now. And so that's our weekly show, and we really enjoy it and appreciate all of you guys who come into chat and watch on the replay and comment on not just that show, but all of our videos. Thanks so much to our fantastic Ghost Host moderators. We love you guys, and we appreciate the work that you do to keep our channel family friendly. It means a lot to us, and your friendship means even more. Thanks so much to our channel members, guys. If you see somebody's name displayed in green in the chat, they are our channel members. They contribute a little bit to the channel every week to help us with expenses and what have you, and we appreciate y'all so much. It's very, very sweet of you to do that. Our channel members are Mike Wheeler, Tina McNeil, who is in the chat, and also one of our mods as well as Mike. Brian's West Coast Disney Adventure. Thanks so much, Brian. Mike88 NYC. Hey, Mike. Love your comments. Keep them coming on our Mike comments so well, and encourages us a lot on in the comments in the bottom of our videos. Texas Takes, Ed and Heather. Thanks so much, guys, for contributing. We really appreciate it. It is so kind of you. And if you would like to become a channel member, you can click on the join button and choose a level. There are different levels. Get some channel member perks and some cool stuff, and maybe some Hitchhiking Bones gear. So thanks so much for that. I think that's about it, y'all. I did want to say that I will be guesting on Brian's West Coast Disney Adventure channel this coming Sunday at 6 p.m. Central. So you can watch for that and look forward to that. Brian has a good Disneyland is his home resort. He's a West Coaster. And so I look forward to talking with him about Disneyland. We love Disneyland too, although we do kind of consider Disney World our home resort. But thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it. Let's see. That's right. They only had two. They only had 2 ornaments left, and now they have 0. I got the last 2. They may restock, of course, before Christmas, but I thought she was just really cute, and so I went ahead and got both of them because I knew, William and Jillian would need one, obviously, or I could give one as a gift or whatever. And if they come in with another one or restock, I may get some more. But because they do make really nice little gifts, for Christmas. Again, guys, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We will be back next week at the same time for where we review episode 3. And I have already watched episode 3 and enjoyed it. I think this is going to be a really good series, and we'll see, what they have in store for us to come. So appreciate it. Everybody in chat, we appreciate you being here and watching. If you're watching on the replay, leave us a comment. Appreciate you guys who are ghost watching as well. We know a lot of you ghost watch and don't comment, so we appreciate that too. And at the Hitchhiking Bones YouTube channel, there is always room for one more. So please hurry back. Till the spire, travelers, and may the force be with you always.